Okay. So did people say if they're on their way, or are more people going to watch from home? Okay, a couple people on their way. Okay, they're on their way now. Okay, I guess our internet is being slow too on top of everything else. Traffic jam. Okay, there's that live stream link you guys have been looking for. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. As I say, we have a slideshow today. The slideshow is a little bit different than other slideshows we've had because it is a NPM-based slideshow. So it's installing now all of the dependencies it needs, and when that's done, we'll go ahead and start watching our slideshow. So until we get started on that, anything anybody would like to share? How many of you were able to get our last example up and running? The SpaceX thing that we did. A few of you did, so you were able to get Babel and everything running. Okay, awesome. So we'll do that in class for today for the rest of you that haven't. Okay, so while this is going, let's go ahead and just take a look at the exercises we're going to do today so you guys can see what we have in store.
Do we have this folder?
Yeah, you have all of the unsolved for this week, right, Jonathan? Yeah. And that's the way we'll do it from now on. So.
Week 19.
Week 19, yeah. So now are we starting with 01 or?
Yeah.
Okay, so 01. So here we have something where it looks like we're going to have a React quiz after going through the slideshow, so you guys can take a look at that. Then we're going to have our first React exercise. It looks like we're going to just be dissecting a React application. Then we're going to have a hello world type application, replace the source folder with your React app. So we're going to be getting into React a little bit. That looks like hello world. Let's get this done. Come on. Wow, they really are installing a lot of stuff just to do a slideshow. I don't know why this was necessary.
Yeah, it's React. Okay. It's in the lesson plan.
Oh, I don't see it.
This one from Google. It's react-gently.netlify.com.
Okay. React-gently.net.
Yeah, that's why, because Vlad had issues installing all the dependencies. He was like, no way. Netlify?
Netlify.
Netlify.com. Yeah.com.
Okay. You're slow for some reason. I think we're good.
Yep.
Okay, so we finally have our slideshow. So everyone, so React Gently is the name of this slideshow. Welcome to React.js, everyone. For those of you who are here, those of you watching online, yay. Do not treat this class as a spoon feeding session. As we've gone over before, this is a bazaar. It's not a cathedral. We can't spoon feed you everything because there's just too much stuff out there. Even for something like React, which is kind of top down, it's going to be up to you guys to be doing what you're doing. Go out, find the information on your own, watch those tutorials, think independently about how everything works together. In order to use React, we have to use a lot of different systems together, Webpack, Yarn, et cetera, which is one of the main complaints that people have about building full stack JavaScript applications, is there are a lot of different packages with a lot of cool buzzword sounding names that you have to know what they do. You have to be able to use them all together. So this is why it becomes very important to visualize how things are working at the high level conceptually, visualize how all the different systems are working together. Yeah.
Matt said you're not sharing your screen. She just sees your picture.
It should be sharing a screen. I put share screen. Let's see.
There you go.
Shoot, I thought I did that part already.
There you go.
No problem. So don't treat this as a spoon feeding session. Go out and find the information on your own. There's way too much information out there for us to just tell you everything like they would in some types of courses. Like if you're going to be an MRI technician or something, there they'll tell you pretty much all in one nice spoon feeding session after another. Here it's different. Here you really have to be an independent, come up with solutions on your own in order to be a successful web developer. So instead, it's meant to be immersion exposure. You're supposed to go in there and get your hands dirty, like this little guy here. So learning React can be tough. It's a huge mindset shift when it comes to building applications. It's not that bad. You're going to need practice. So a lot of this stuff is just practice, but in the end, it's worth it. Just about every popular UI library that came after React borrows from it. Yeah, this is sort of true. I mean, React 4 and React 5 don't necessarily, some are more like React, but hi, Gretel. That's sort of somewhat true, I guess. So what is React? Somebody like to read bullet point number 1 for us?
Open source JavaScript library developed at Facebook specifically for the task of developing user interfaces.
Right. So we talked about this on Saturday, right? You guys should all be pretty well versed in this by now, pretty well grounded. It was made at Facebook. It was designed to solve what problem? Yeah, it's updating the DOM. And what is the solution they came up with to make the updating quicker? The virtual DOM, right? So it figures out what are all the changes that need to be made in a virtual DOM, then it goes through and updates only the things that actually need to be changed. Instead of refreshing the whole page or changing everything, it just figures out just what the things are that needed to be changed, and then it goes and changes only those things. So it's for building large-scale SPAs. Remember we talked about SPAs? What is that? Single page applications. So if you have a web app that has like one pull-down menu and everything else is static, is that a good use case for React? No, right? Our React applications need to have enough functionality to make it worth our while to implement React, because it will take longer to build than just a plain old jQuery site or something else. Right, so it relies on a component-based architecture. This we pretty much went over, how components work. I gave you guys the example of the volume control component. Components have state. Components also have properties. You guys all remember how that works? Okay, we're going to keep going. So some of Facebook's UI complexities, we talked about this on Saturday already. There are a lot of components that work together. So when you send a message, it needs to get updated. When somebody sends you a message, the message component needs to get updated. Also, the component at the top that shows you the number of messages you have has to get updated. So a number of components are working in the page together. This creates more possible points for failure. Welcome, Melvin. The more ways there are different things on the page working together, the more ways there are for them to fail. So that's why Facebook created this way of doing things where it pretty much resets everything every time, but you get the benefit of only the items that need to be updated being updated, even though in practice, it's basically like having it reset every time. You don't need to worry about all of the ins and outs of going from state 1 to state 2 to state 3. It just goes into the state that it needs to be in pretty much automatically. So again, it's showing you how components work. As you may remember, we have components inside of components, right? So components are usually comprised of other components as well as markup. So in this example, it's showing us that we have our home page component, and inside of here, it's made up of multiple smaller components, right? You guys all with this? Should be a review for all of you by now, if you've been paying attention. So why separate the UI into components, somebody? Again, this should all be review for you guys. Anyone? Well, partially it's because they have states. So you want to separate things into the different things that do different things, because we might have one page that uses components in one way and one page that uses components in another way. So I might have, for example, a volume control and a messaging component on one page. I might have another page that has just a volume control component. I might have one page that's just a messaging component. So we create reusable pieces of code that can handle more than one thing, right? So that's what it's made, is so we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel every time. We can just utilize something that's already created and change only the things that need to be changed. That is pretty much the philosophy there. So it's saying components allow us to logically decompose a UI into different parts. So it gives us a nice logical constructor to structure a UI. They allow us to easily reuse these parts without recoding. So we want to make our components as reusable as possible. Component-based applications are easier to test. So React is designed to be testable. So all of those kinds of problems that we ran into when we were mob programming on the unit testing stuff, where we found out that pretty much nothing in Express or in the jQuery code that we'd been working on is actually unit testable, because they aren't pure functions. They don't have one input and give one output. In most cases, they take multiple inputs and give multiple side effects. Does everyone see how that works? Okay, I hope you guys have been paying attention to all this stuff we've been talking about here. Does everybody remember what a pure function is? Takes, go ahead, Jackie. Input and one output. Good. Did all of you guys have that? Okay, good. Just want to make sure you guys are paying attention, because we've been over this several times now. So JavaScript is fast, but whenever we update the DOM, the browser needs to recalculate the CSS and the layout. So to repaint the page, this can be slow. So as we talked about on Saturday, there's this bottleneck here for the JavaScript engine to go and talk to the layout engine. Then the layout engine has to calculate how everything is positioned, right? So our whole entire CSS file, every single pixel value, VW value, all of that, it has to calculate how everything is laid out. That process takes time. It has to do this every single time we change anything on our web page. So this can get very, very expensive when we have a web page that is very rich in functionality, as is Facebook or Instagram. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay. Good. Okay, so this is showing the virtual DOM. Is anyone not clear on the virtual DOM and how it works? Okay, we're going to keep going since we've been over all this before. Okay, so you guys are all pretty much clear on the virtual DOM by now, right? We can read the pros and cons, but we've already been over this. So somebody like to read the pros?
Component-based architecture encourages us to break our application's UI into reusable components, allowing us to build.
Okay, somebody else?
Applications UI reactively updates in response to changes to its state, reducing the amount of DOM manipulation code we need to write ourselves.
All right. Okay, somebody else read?
Can be used to build applications on the web, on the server, and in native applications.
Can be.
Sorry?
Can be.
Can BB used to build? Again, the awesome copy.
Favorite.
Arguably easier to learn and more popular than other competing front-end JavaScript library and frameworks.
Yeah, I mean, that's arguable. There are people who would argue for React. There are people who would argue for Knockout. So the cons, React is just a Vue library concerned with rendering user interfaces. We'll have to pull in together other libraries to accomplish things like HTTP requests. So it's a lot of different stuff working together to get React to work. React is not an all-in-one solution. It doesn't do everything for you. It's still a bazaar type model, right? Where we are working with all these different people in the bazaar who are giving us all these different little software packages, and we figure out how to put them together. Setting up React can require more configuration than other libraries. So as I said, if you guys ever get a freelance project and they said we just wanted to move around and do these few little things, just use jQuery for it. You'll be much happier. You'll get it done much quicker. If you have your own personal project or a project at work, then that's when it becomes a good use case for React, possibly. Okay, so we need to set up what they call a build stream. So we're going to learn a little bit about Webpack, which we talked about a little bit on Tuesday. Jackie, what does Webpack do?
I know what it does. Sorry, I'll do it right now. I realize it looks at all of your source JavaScript, JSX, and ES6 and combines into one file to reduce HTTP requests.
Okay, did everyone get that? Webpack is a task runner. So what it does is it can do anything you need your site to do to get things ready to ship to the public. So some of those things might include removing line breaks from your files so that they'll be lighter weight, take up less bandwidth to send. Another thing that you might do is apply transformations, as in from ES6 back to ES5 or ES4, as we talked about on Tuesday. You guys all remember that? How we learned about Babel. So Webpack, what we'll be using it for most is to run Babel. Otherwise, you would have to run Babel yourself, either on a website or with a browser plugin like Jackie was talking about. Same thing with Sass and Less. All of you guys remember what Sass and Less do? They're pre-compilers for CSS, so they make it easier to write our CSS. In order to run those, we would either have to be using a plugin for our text editors. One, we could go to an online service to convert our Sass and Less into CSS, or we can use Babel to just do it for us automatically anytime we make a change to the Less and Sass in our project. So do you guys see how this would be easier to just have something do it automatically every time, all the things that you need to do to get your site ready, rather than going and using all the tools yourself? So that's what Webpack does for you. Any questions on that? Now's the time, guys, because there's something you don't understand. Otherwise, we're just going to keep moving. Okay, so Webpack is a module bundler for modern JavaScript applications. When Webpack processes your application, it recursively builds a dependency graph that includes every module your application needs, then packages all of these modules into a small number of bundles, only one, to be loaded into the browser. So does anybody know why it would be faster to load only one JavaScript file into the browser than many?
You're not wasting processing time trying to load for the specific module?
Yes, that, and HTTP has what are called handshaking protocols, which means it takes time for the one machine to connect to the server and for them to verify they're talking to the right person and to get everything set up so they can have this stream of transfers and transfer the packets over TCP/IP. So that handshaking takes time. It also takes time to hang up. So that's why it's a lot faster to put everything into one file whenever you can. Okay, so Webpack allows us to modularize our front-end code in the same way that we do in Node with common JS modules. So that's another thing we can use require. So it actually does a lot of different stuff for us. It allows us to apply transformations. As I say, we can remove line breaks. We can compile Less and Sass. We can do a lot of different types of transformations and compilations that are necessary to get our project working. You can also set it up to do image optimization if that's something you're interested in. Do you know how Photoshop lets you optimize images for the web, so you can make them much smaller if you're saving images for the web? If you don't have a graphic designer to save your photos as web optimized, you can run a Webpack plugin that will automatically optimize your images for the web. Does that make sense? What is the plugin called? I don't know. You would have to, if you just Google image optimization plugin for Webpack, you'll find it. So Babel, we've been over Babel. What does Babel do, guys? We talked about this on Tuesday. It's a transpiler. Does everyone remember that? What does a transpiler do? It converts the ES6 code to ES4. Or it can do any kind of conversion. It can convert just one feature of ES6 if we tell it to, or convert all features of ES6. It's configurable to convert basically any language into any other language. So you're asking, can I just use a CDN for all of this? Like we use jQuery from a CDN. We use a lot of JavaScript libraries from a CDN. Why do we have to pull everything down off NPM, use Yarn, use Webpack, use all this junk, you're asking? Well, you can, but it would be super slow. So please don't. There's a lot of overhead setting up a React application. Also, a lot of things get compiled. We need to compile our JSX code. That's necessary. So basically, there's a lot of different systems working together in harmony to make everything happen, to make our React app work. So that's why it's super useful to have a tool like Webpack that just puts everything together for you. It minifies the code that needs to be minified. It compiles anything that needs to be compiled, like lesser Sass. It removes the line breaks. It puts everything together into a single JavaScript file, so that way you don't have to pay the price for the extra files with the HTTP handshaking, which is actually very time consuming. So there's a lot of reasons why we have things set up the way we have them. And as you guys get more experience with it, you'll start to really understand how all these different systems are working together. For now, it's good to just not get ahead of ourselves and just look at how we're doing everything here. So let's take a look at some of the React docs. It's asking us to work in groups, complete each task, and answer each of the questions slacked out to you. Yeah, questions.
If you have like put it into that one file?
No, it depends how you do it exactly. But if you have like a HTML file in Handlebars or something, and you just drop a script tag with a link to some CDN with jQuery in it, no, it'll just put that in your HTML. The browser will see it. It'll go pull down that JavaScript file the same as it always does. Now, the problem with that is it might break stuff. So if you have some things that are installed with Webpack and then you're installing something else off a CDN, maybe it'll take longer to get things off a CDN, or it might not be in the right order, which is why it makes sense to use Webpack. Also, Webpack puts everything together into one file for you, so it's a lot quicker. Yeah, Jonathan.
Maggie has a question. She says, what's the difference between a transpiler and a compiler? Babel website says compiler.
Oh, okay. So a transpiler, the word transpiler means that it doesn't compile. Compile means that it's making your code into binaries, or it's converting into something else. Transpiler means it's more like it translates and compiles. That's where we get that word, transpiler. I don't know why Babel's site says compiler. Most times you hear people refer to it as a transpiler. And we'll just go ahead and look up transpiler now. Okay, thanks, Jose. Okay, any other questions? Questions? No? Jackie, questions? Okay, so we're going to be sending you guys out a quick test on what we just learned, or actually you already have it. So you guys are going to take this test. You want to do it with partners?
You guys have day 2
number 1
for the whole week?
Yeah, so it's going to be 01 for the whole week. Monday, for some reason, we did 101, 102, 103. So now we're starting again with 101.
Folder on?
So we're at number 2?
Documentation questions.
Yes. Okay.
You're to do number 1.
Yep. The readme. What do you have?
React quiz. What I have on the screen now. Welcome,
No, I
Madison.
don't have.
That's the documentation question. Yeah.
You don't have this folder, 01-STU _ documentation?
Yeah, it's a readme.
Okay. So you guys are going to work with partners. Madison, we're working with partners to do a quiz. It's 01 in your unsolved files.
We're installing that too, right?
Yeah, just follow these instructions. I don't know why they call it a quiz when it's really installing stuff.
Well, it's at the end of part
There's
two.
a question, part 2 is questions.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Usual.
I mean, yeah. There's no real reason to. People just like to use the newest JavaScript library so they can look cool.
Yeah,
There's no.
but I've been looking at videos and I've seen that Yarn is better than NPM
Why?
in several ways. You can do like, so it loads everything faster. I don't know, the way it loads everything is a lot faster. You can do offline loading. You can do,
Oh, okay. Yeah, it has the fractal directory structure thing. Like there's a fractal directory structure plugin for NPM, and it does that out of the box, I guess. So that way, if there are dependencies that require another dependency that you already have in your project, it'll go back to that.
Right. And then there's something else with like the Yarn package lock that it does that Node doesn't. I mean, sorry, that NPM doesn't. And
Yeah.
I don't know, there's a few, you know.
Maybe I should start using it.
Those are what happens when new things come out. They like
Oh yeah, for say let's see.
take whatever else.
Sorry.
But it's just gonna say about it. It's just gonna say like baking projects and import her files. So like setting up an intelligent project to like interesting. But so yeah.
Oh, you like my link?
Yeah. I know where it was. That's what was it funny or whatever.
I'm installing Yarn. Yarn is
I'm pretty sure they're going to talk about it.
So this is my laptop. So here's Yarn. This is what Yarn is. So what are we calling the create app, React app? We should have to give it a name?
You can call it whatever you want.
Okay, so just call it.
But you just have to install it for now. You don't have to give it. You don't actually have to name it, right? Because they're just installing it now. We're not using it. No.
Just like, oh wait.
Yeah, it didn't ask me. I just ran the command and it didn't ask me to name it. That's naming it is for when you use it. We're just installing it now. We're not using it.
So it matches running. So tag it to another component. You can click on the-
React app.
Yeah. She's probably gonna have to use some of those because she's a Mac user.
Why can't you guys just use what it has here? npm install. Oh, Sam, just put sudo in front of what's in the instructions. Yeah. Sudo is run as root for anyone who's a Mac user or Linux user. It's important to know.
That's the net team.
Thank you.
There you go.
Did everyone get it installed at least? Okay. Good, good.
Create React app and Yarn.
Oh, just have to put them on.
The folder that extract this from the left. Well, it- extracting it. Then extracting from. There we go.
PNPM. I don't know, but yeah, you have to really want to be a hipster. He's right. Disk space efficiency. One version of a package is only ever saved on a disk. Strict non-flat node module structure. Code has access only to packages that are declared in package.json.
So fancy that damn.
Yes, he is.
Oh, I see. So it just basically installs it one. It's almost like a global install, and then just points everything to that one
Mhm.
install.
Like the
Yeah.
just depending on like what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's copies of Lodash. Yeah, that's true.
No, why don't you? Oh, I'm not looking at it. Look at this thing. Just look at And I did do my hair today.
I didn't even.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, how's everyone doing with that? Want to take a few more minutes or go over as a class?
We're done.
You're done? Okay, we're going to go over it as a class. Okay, what is the answer to question 1, somebody?
42.
Yes, as is everything. Okay, we're done. We can go home now. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, what's the answer to question 1? Somebody? Anybody? Nobody can answer this.
Creates like a skeleton for a React app.
Yeah, in the previous section, we just installed 2 packages, create React app and Yarn. So yeah, create React app just creates a skeleton React app for you. It takes a little bit of the work out of structuring your React project. Usually without this, you have to go in and make some folders and set some stuff up to get your React project going. This does all of that stuff for you. So that's the answer to the first part of question 1. What about the second part of question 1? What is Yarn? What does that do? Somebody we haven't heard from that's been paying attention. Yeah, okay, Melvin.
I just brought in dependencies, makes it easier to share and use code with other developers.
What else does that? What is it similar to that we've been using already?
NPM.
NPM. So Yarn is almost exactly like NPM. It's almost like so much like NPM that's like, do we really need another thing? Is this really necessary now when we're learning so much other new stuff? I don't know. But what makes it better than NPM is that it has what is called fractal directory structures. What does this mean? It means that we can only use each dependency once. With NPM, sometimes we'll install those dependencies. Those dependencies have other dependencies. So when a dependency has other dependencies, it goes and installs all those dependencies. Even if you have it several other times in your project, you could have 5 or 6 different dependencies using something common like Lodash, or what are some other common libraries that people use a lot? Rimraf, that's another common one that just does rm-rf to remove something recursively force. On the command line, it's hard to do from within nodes, so there's a package called Rimraf that does that for you. A lot of different packages use it. So when you use NPM, you'll end up installing the same packages multiple times. That's bad, so people came up with this thing called fractal directory structure, which basically makes it so that that doesn't happen. So that's the main benefit of using Yarn instead of NPM. Any questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody? John, do you get that?
I just started my computer.
You shut off your computer?
No, I just started my computer.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, you just got here. Fine, fair enough. Yeah, Nelson. Okay, let's look it up. So do we know what fractals are? The little spirally, stripy things that we see pictures of? Yeah, so in mathematics, it's sort of an advanced theory that has to do with generative patterns that emerge out of chaos, basically. So fractal directory structure, let's look up what that is. Basically, it just makes it so you don't have to have your dependencies more than once, so you can reference dependencies in the same place. So that way you don't have packages with different dependencies that pull them in, so you end up with 3 or 4 different copies of Lodash, as I was saying.
So it redirects.
Yeah, it redirects stuff in a weird way. I don't quite understand how it works, but it does. So you guys can go read about this on your own. We have a lot of other confusing stuff to cover now. So yeah, it gets pretty complicated, but basically they found a kind of complex way to make this work where you can only have dependencies once, and then it changes the directory structure to make them all point to the right place, and it all just kind of works. I don't really know how it works, but they made it work. So question 2, somebody, what are some of the benefits of using React.js? If you guys can't answer this one, well, you should be able to answer this one. If you, it is a component, it's a component-based library or framework or whatever. Yeah, good. Somebody else. Yes, React uses the virtual DOM. That's good. So it makes your app faster because it uses the virtual DOM. What else?
Let's see, update in real time.
It makes your app faster with the virtual DOM. It lets you do updates in real time. It eliminates the possibility for errors because you're only going from state 1 to state 2. You're always going from one state to another state. There aren't in between states. There aren't multiple different things that could get broken. Do you guys see sort of what I'm talking about when I talk about the multiple points of failure that get eliminated here? Think about you have 2 different components working together. You have, say, like a volume control component and then another little thing that shows the volume, say. Or let's take a more complicated example. Let's say you have your chat component in Facebook, right? So we have our chat component in Facebook. Then we have another component on top that tells us how many new messages we have. There are a lot of ways this component can get messed up. And this was actually one of the motivations for making React. Was they found out that a lot of times people would get a message that came in and they wouldn't get the notification. Or they would get 2 notifications when they only had 1 message coming in, or somehow something would break and then get the wrong number of notifications. So when you have 2 things working together like this, there are multiple things that can go wrong because they do different things when they work together. So there are all different kinds of ways things can get askew, things can get out of whack. So React eliminates all of that for you, all of the possibilities for failure, because you're just going from state 1 to state 1. It rebuilds things every time. It doesn't need to update things. When you're updating things, there's always the possibility that something could get updated wrong or not updated at all because there's one edge case that you didn't foresee. With React, you're always recreating everything every time. So all of the edge cases don't matter as much. There are less possible points of failure. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Hopefully it does. If not, maybe it will later. So number 3. Well, let's hear some other benefits. Does anybody one more benefit for using React? It's faster because it uses the virtual DOM. Perfect. You can reuse your components. It gives you the opportunity to use reusable components. Good job, Nelson. Okay, so what about number 3? What is a React component? Independent, reusable pieces of code. Yeah, I think that's good. Anybody need clarification on what that is? A component? They're like Lego pieces, right? And components can be made out of other components. So we took the example on Saturday, I think, of a form, right? A form could be one component. And then within that form component, they could be made up of what? Other components, right? We would have one component for a button. And then we could tell it what the button text would say, and we would pass that in as a what? As a property, right? Yeah.
Are components and modules so similar, or are they things?
Well, it sort of depends on the domain-specific language of the library or framework that you're using. So in React land, they're called components all the time. React does not have anything called modules. The modules would refer to the JavaScript modules, like we've seen with the module exports pattern that we've been using in Node. So that's a little bit different than components. I mean, they really mean the same thing. Like, yeah, there's sort of different words to mean the same thing, but with the way these libraries and stuff work is they've given them sort of specific meanings. So within Node, the word module has a very specific meaning, which we've seen before. We've all seen the module exports pattern, where we require certain modules and then we use them in our code. You've seen that before. So typically when you hear the word module in React Land, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about a node module. When you hear the word component, what they're talking about is a reusable piece of UI code, like the form buttons or, you know, something like that, or the volume control, those kinds of things. Okay? But they do, I mean, in plain English, you're right. They mean sort of the same thing. It's just the value that we have, as web developers, has sort of given them. Good question. Okay. So everyone clear on what a React component does? Any questions at all? Anybody? John, you good on what a React component does? Okay. Fabian, are you with us here? Let's see if Fabian's here. Yeah, he's listening online. Fabian, you there? No, I guess he's not here.
Send us a sign.
Send us a sign. Okay. I guess the spirit of Fabian is not here. Okay. Number 4, somebody. Oh, he did respond?
Yeah.
Oh, my notifications are not showing up. Okay, Fabian, so you understand? Good. Cool. Fabian's on it. Okay, so let's go to number 4. What is the significance of the React DOM.render method? Hint. Well, you guys should have done that already. What is the answer?
It checks for differences between what it.
Right. React DOM is referencing not the real DOM, but the virtual DOM, right? So when we tell it React DOM.render, it goes and does its virtual DOM thing. It first puts everything together inside the JavaScript engine, then it figures out what needs to update, then it goes and updates just those things. Everyone clear on that? Anyone need clarification? Okay, good. Number 5. What is JSX? Why does Facebook recommend it? Jackie knows. Who else knows? Who was paying attention on Saturday? Sam, who else knows? Anyone else? What is JSX? Anyone remember our discussion? Yeah, Adrian. What is?
Similar to handlebars.
Okay, good. Snaps. Yeah, it's similar to handlebars because they're both templating engines, right? Right. So I don't know if you guys remember, but on Saturday we saw an example of putting together a component using the React DOM.render syntax where everything was in JavaScript, and it showed us the same thing, but using JSX. So JSX looks more like HTML, which makes sense because we're using it to create HTML, right? So instead of using a bunch of JavaScript methods to create our HTML tags, we could just use HTML tags to create our HTML tags, which is why this makes sense. Then there's a simple transformation that turns it back into this React DOM.render code. Then it goes and runs it in the virtual DOM, figures out what it needs to update in the real DOM, then it goes and updates those things. Then, does anybody remember what we discussed on Saturday with the 2-pass rendering and what that does? 2-pass rendering? That was in our lecture, and we discussed it at length. It was in the lecture that we watched from Facebook, and then we discussed it at length as a class. So basically, there are events too, because when we create our components, we need them to have HTML and CSS, but then we also need them to have functionality as well, right? So React attaches events, but it doesn't attach them to the element that the event works on. It attaches them further up in the DOM and then delegates them further down. Remember how we talked about that? So when they say 2-pass rendering, the first pass, it figures out what needs to be updated in the DOM. It goes and inserts a string into the inner HTML to update the HTML. Then it goes back and binds the events onto a higher DOM node and delegates them down to your component. You guys all remember how event delegation works? Okay, good. So yeah, so there's a lot to learn with this stuff, guys. Try to stay focused, try to stay with it, because we'll go over this stuff, and if you get it the first time, you'll be much better positioned to pick up more stuff and be in a much better place with this stuff. Okay. So everyone clear on what JSX does? It's a templating language that works with React. We can just use the React DOM.render syntax and write everything in JavaScript, we just end up writing a lot less code if we use JSX, because we can write our HTML as plain HTML instead of as JavaScript that's making HTML. Everyone see how that works? Okay, great. What about question number 6? Why does Facebook recommend JSX? Or no, I'm sorry. What does Facebook recommend as the best way to start building a new single-page web application? Did anybody check the installation section of the docs? And what is it? Okay, and that's what we're going to do, right? Okay. What is Babel? Babel is a transpiler. So what role does it play with JSX? Into regular JavaScript, right? Because it translates stuff. So there's a JSX transformation that works with Babel. What is the significance of the curly braces in JSX with the $sign? It's a lot like handlebars and the other templating frameworks we've been using. What is it too, guys? It encloses variables, yes. Everyone good with that? Everyone see how the curly brackets enclose the variables? Very much like the string interpolation stuff we did on Saturday. Very much like the handlebars stuff you guys have been doing. Should be a review for you. What is a component prop? Remember we talked about properties and state at length on Saturday, guys? So
Information to your
yeah, you pass in information to your component. State is similar to properties, but not the same. What? Not the same thing. So here's the difference. Here's the example that I gave you guys on Saturday. State is the state that your component is in now. The property is what you give it to start it. So if, let's say the state of the volume is at 75%. If I'm creating a new volume control, I can give it that and it'll start at that with the property, and then the state of it may change. So basically a property will stay pretty much the same throughout the life cycle of your application, whereas the state will change. Is that a fair description of it, Jonathan? Yeah, and we'll get into talking about this stuff later, so it makes more sense for now. That's why for now they're just telling you guys to think about props and not state, because properties are the simpler of the two. In fact, not all React applications have to use state, but most do. So we'll get into talking about this, but again, like say, let's go back to using our button component example. Everyone remember the button component example? So we have a button. So what would we use a property for? If I make a component, a generic component to be reusable as a button, what would I use a property for that button? For the text inside the button, right? So that would be a property. You got that same answer? Okay, good. Okay, awesome. So this concludes our test. Any questions on any of what we have just discussed, everyone? Okay, like we showed you in the slides, we're going to need you guys to be hands-on. We're going to need you guys to be that baby with your hands in the baby food, messing stuff up, getting messy. That's what we need here. This stuff is not possible to spoon feed you guys. There's really too much you have to learn. Melvin, you missed the picture of the baby, but we want you to be like the messy baby with his hands all in the baby food and like everywhere. Don't just wait for us to spoon feed you stuff. Cool. Okay. Next exercise, how would you guys like to proceed?
Sorry.
Wait, what was that? Slowly. Okay, slowly together as a class? Okay. So if we haven't already, we're going to generate a React starter app using Create React App. You do this by running Create React App, React Practice. In fact, I would like all of you guys to do this one individually because you guys all really need the hands-on practice for this one. And then we'll mob on like the next one or something. So go ahead, just get started on this. You can work with a partner if you want to, or work by yourself. We are going to take oh no, so I'm sorry. So this is supposed to be a demo. We're going to demo for you guys first, and then do the students too. So hold on. demo. Do you know where this exercise is, Jonathan?
Number 2.
Instructor do number 4 for today. Instructor do demo create React.
Create React. I think it's you doing it in CLI. You just do create React app, give it a name, and then you just show localhost port 3000.
Oh, okay. So let's see how this create React app thing works. So I'm going to do cd tilde. So
Yarn, right?
what?
Do you have Yarn installed?
Yeah. So I just use this create React dash app.
Mhm.
So I'm going to use create
And then
dash
give it a name.
React dash app, my app. So it creates a folder with the same name that I just gave it for my app. I'm doing it from my local file. It's telling me all the stuff that it's installing.
You're using Node 7, which is not.
You create the app wherever you're executing the command, right?
Wow, I have a really old version of Node. That's weird. Sorry, what was the question, Nelson?
Then it creates the app inside whatever directory you're in.
Yeah, it creates the app inside whatever directory you're in, but it will actually make a new directory with the name of your app. And it creates the app inside of that from within whatever. Yeah, so for instance, I ran this from inside my home directory. The name I gave it was called my app. So it created a folder called my app inside my home directory and all of the files it will put inside the my app directory.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's weird that I have Node 7. I thought I had. It's really weird.
oh, lowercase v here. Yeah. Number 7.
And then I just run server.js.
Yarn starts.
Oh, yarn start. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think the reason they do it this way is because it works with Create React App. I don't think NPM works with Create React App, right? What?
Documentation.
Oh, well, I don't know why they chose to use Yarn. Maybe just because they want you guys on the newest, coolest thing. I don't know.
That's really bizarre that they have those on.
Not really that strange. A lot of developers decide to change to Yarn just because they think it's the newest, coolest thing without having a real rationale as to why. Yeah, a lot of developers will do that. They'll just switch to the newest, coolest thing without really thinking about why. Typically, that's something junior developers do, and younger developers, more seasoned developers, will know the sort of drawbacks to switching to the newest, coolest thing and be more.
Limitations are, you know?
Yeah, and there's all kinds of unforeseen things that could pop up or could break that you don't really think about. So that's why the newer developers say, "Ooh, wow, shiny, let me go get that thing," and then the more seasoned developers tend to say, "Oh, we'll think about all the problems this could cause." I don't really.
So like in GitHub, it's using npm start, but then that little image that they put, it's using Yarn. So I'm wondering if like npm start is actually running Yarn. So
Let's see if there's a README. There might be. So this is the my app directory I just created for anyone who wants to look. So there is a README. So I'm going to open that up with Nano. So you can see here, table of contents, npm start, npm tests. So I think it's just npm start. But wouldn't it be yarn start?
It is yarn start. In their Git, oh, it's both?
Yeah, and hand start or yarn start.
Okay, so either or, I guess. Since we have yarn, it's gonna work with yarn.
Yeah, I guess.
And then it should open up your localhost 3000 automatically. Essentially. There it is.
Oh, it opens it
Yeah, it does
automatically. I
everything
like
automatically.
that.
It does like a bunch of stuff for you, so you don't have to do anything.
Oh,
You
cool.
don't have to refresh, right? It just
Yep, yep,
refreshes
yep,
automatically.
exactly.
Okay.
So we watch
That's kind of cool.
Awesome.
Go back one, no, go back one. No, sorry, that was not. Once you ready.
Yeah, it automatically refreshes. So,
That's okay.
are they,
What?
are they gonna tell us to,
Oh, you're
install the React component?
From the terminal.
I don't know yet, dear. We'll have to see, but you're not here to be spoon fed.
No, but they should know that it's kind of great to have.
Okay. We have a lot to get through though. There are a lot of different things that work together in different ways. So, but yeah, I think we will. If not, just install it on your own and you can use it.
I already did that, Jonathan.
Okay. Okay, then you're good.
No. Yeah, definitely. Because you could look at.
Okay, so you guys are all moved on to the next activity now, right? You guys are all on number 3, students. Yes, no, maybe? Are you guys all on this one here? Number 3. So you were supposed to, did you make your started app yet, the way I showed you guys, where you just run this little thing in the command line and it makes your sample app?
React app.
Yeah, create React app. Okay, TAs and I will be coming around to work with you guys individually on number 3. You should have already created your React app now and be following instructions on number 3. Okay, everyone good with that? Anyone not know what they're doing? Cool. Did you install it?
Yeah.
So that's deleted it,
Oh, like folder.
and I followed the
Yeah.
instructions.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's doing here, so I brought it back.
Moving that switch
Pop
folder.
up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's in
Like
the
this.
All it says is
So
hello. So I'm just
now we're on number 3.
No, mine look like crap. I don't.
If you got the hello world though, you should be pretty good. Very
Cool.
I just have it like you did first.
It's weird.
Sliders.
Thing is, you since bringing it back, I didn't delete it. It gives me your image now, but the instructions say to delete the ones that he basically gave us. It just says hello world.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's what they want you guys to do.
They're only supposed to replace the source. For any new activity from now on, you're going to use that app that you created
Right.
and just replace the source folder.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll
yes,
talk about
yeah.
why. There's source and distribution. We'll get into talking about that
But
as
so
class.
we can
We'll go over it.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
Okay,
yep.
so now you want to go outside of directory, so CD.
Ow.
Yeah, there
What did you call it?
Go back up.
Yeah, okay, so
Well,
CD.
if we do that,
Yeah.
so
Make sure
it
it's
makes that source.
Okay, sorry. Now we're gonna install this.
Now you're going to,
Copy that.
yarn.
Yeah.
So it's looking-
Go back up. No.
Oh, yeah, right.
Go back into React Prep.
Sorry.
Yeah, click that.
I'm reading them.
Yeah, you can delete that one. Yeah. Now, come here. Or I mean, your terminal. And you said the number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Raise your hands if you guys run into any problems so we can come around and help you.
I know.
This is the old one. Right?
Yeah, that one.
So
Yeah, did you stop?
Very sorry.
Yeah, you have to stop the server. Control C.
image and the tree.
Yeah.
No, refresh. It'll automatically open it for you.
Okay, this one, right? Is everything?
Yeah, that's what I did.
But you don't
There you
have
go.
to
That's it, yeah.
keep directory everything on the up.
You're supposed to add now the HTML using React. Oh, you didn't install your own. Okay. We did add to your own. Okay, good. It didn't look so you can do. So then after that, you should be able to see the instrumentation. You're already there, so you could yarn start. Yeah. Oh. You got it, okay. Oh, no, wait, you,
Well, it was asking for JSON package. Do it again?
Where did it, yeah. So, yeah, no. Okay, so you overwrote, okay, so what I would do is, oh wait, this is the wrong one. Where's the one you created? With, React. Create React, are you ready? Okay, so that's. Alright, this is where you need to go. Okay, so what you have to do now is replace the source file folder. So open up screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so, or out of the source. So you're gonna get this folder from the example, and you're gonna replace it on your app you created with React. So the one that's all. So you're gonna copy that and then go into your. Like, don't literally copy it, but I'm gonna show you, like, you're gonna copy it and then paste it inside of it. So you can do that with Finder.
Okay.
Go to where you have.
Can you see what's in the source?
For your atoms.
Oh, my.
Yeah, where these examples are.
Check that a little bit, because, the original one doesn't.
Oh, you went to folders or the
Yeah,
actual?
so this
Oh,
way,
okay.
we have a,
I have one.
okay, 7 minutes to fill in that. So that's what you.
Sublime to agree with the JSX stuff. A little better.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Sure,
So you
Sublime bundle.
just realize that you're gonna use this folder.
Yeah, same as we did for handlebars. Remember we installed the Sublime handlebars bundle? There's also a Sublime JSX bundle. Everyone, did you guys hear what Sam said? There's a Sublime JSX bundle also for whatever text editor you're using. Go and download the bundle for it so you can have JSX colored in correctly. Everyone understand?
I gotta remember how to do that.
Yeah, just look it up.
So now what do you do? And you should be able to do yarn start. Everything goes well. You should open up from for every new assignment that you read now. Oh, yeah. That's what yours has to. So if you go to open up your. Yeah, we haven't got to that. Eventually we will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, did you install Create React App?
Yeah, somebody needs, because he has the architect.
Great, but you also have to do npm install Create React App.
If not, you can use an EPM.
Make sure he does it as root too, otherwise it won't work.
All dash, create dash.
You can also do it as yes, which is, I think, is part of the share.
What is this dash? Wait, it installs it globally, so you don't have to install it.
Hey, there we go.
It gets better. Instead of doing it for each project, it'll just install it globally, and then every project uses that.
Yeah. It just means that whenever you call it from anything else, you'll be able to call it, because usually you just install it locally in the folder. If you don't want it everywhere,
Just don't do the G.
just don't do the G, and every single time you want to run anything with Create React App, you just have to install it again.
No, you need to install it globally, like the instructions say. Yeah, use sudo and install it globally.
Yeah, I'm still
Links back. Oh, you have to do sudo. So just.
You're using Bash, right? I would think it be
No, it'll be on projects, it'll be in your computer. So the reason we install things locally is when it's not used by the project itself, like when you put this on, you won't need to create React. It's just the utility that you have on your computer. So those are work, like simple It's not, it's specific to your development environment, not specific to the app. So, okay, so you install it globally, now you just follow the directions and do create -react-app and then my app or whatever you want to do. And then you just copy the source directory from. Okay. Okay, no problem.
Oh, no, we're okay, so now, yeah, did you do the creative backups? Oh, wait.
Did you already stop for React? Okay. I mean. Yeah.
When did you?
Well, this is the one that takes a while, right?
Well, yeah, because you got it. Oh. Try to create it.
My app, okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you already.
Oh, you still need the folder?
Okay. You should be able to just you on start right now.
You're sorry, once he does create the backups, yes. He has to see into the folder.
Yeah, he's already.
Okay, so now you can go into the directory that you want to. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting to a point. Everybody should be almost done. Everybody should be almost done. Mario and Russ, you guys done? Okay, awesome. 3. Yeah, move the source directory. Just change hello to your name. Really easy.
Oh, you're. So where you go back to the folder?
Because when you go back to the component, so it says no. So right now it's not showing anything. That's what you need to change. So should I use
Yeah, that too.
That's where you do JSX to be able to make the components.
That's the file that we
Yeah, so just not using it, just writing JSX.
Okay, so you gotta have it.
And just keep in mind that you're gonna see the images. You need to have it inside.
Now we're pulling in inside.
No, like you just put everything that you're gonna have and then all the JSX in parentheses. Because if not, yeah, this yeah, unless it's like it's one line. Yeah, if it's one line, you can just write it. But if it's one line, you just.
So,
No, you can just use capital letters. So now you have it in the
It will render it.
make sure you replace the source folder. So the examples for
Yeah, so if you're doing
those
it.
examples, you're going to copy the source code from the example. If you go to this.
Yeah, I've actually seen this already, but yeah, not this JSX, but it should be a little bit.
okay, I just want to make sure it's up and running.
Yeah, it's up.
So you click on my name instead of anyway, can't get rid of this. If you replace, you want back to work.
Yes, dear.
Okay, we should be just about finished with that. What's going on? Raise your hand if you're not done with 3.
I just was like working on 2 or 3.
Yeah. Okay, who's done with number 2? Who's not done with number 2? Adrian, are you done with number 2? Everyone done with number 2? Okay, we're gonna move on. We'll go over number 3 together as a class. As long as you guys have 2, you should be able to get to 3. Yeah, so Fulton, we'll just go over it as a class. Okay. So you guys should have all gotten to this. You should have all gotten to this point here, right? Or all of you guys at least here. Okay, so then the next thing our README is telling us to do is just copy the source from this directory to the new folder that Create React App just created, right? So I did that here in my command line. Like so, I just ran this command. This copied my source directory from the full stack directory over to my new React app that I just created. So now when I go into my app directory, you'll see that it's telling us it only wants to export a hello div. So let's start from the very beginning of where our app starts, index.js, right? Did you guys all see this? So we're importing React from React. We're importing React DOM from React. This doing require would do pretty much the exact same thing here. Then we're going to import app from React. We're just going to tell the React DOM to render our app. Pretty much every React app starts like this, even if you're using JSX, because you're always going to render your app. Your app is always like the top level component, which includes all the other components inside it. Make sense to everyone? Did anyone not get that? Anybody want me to repeat it? Yes, your React app, we want to do laptops down. Let's do laptops down so we can focus, because we're going to go over a bunch of important stuff here, and we may not get to repeat it as much as we repeat a lot of stuff. So you guys would be smart to pay attention. So every React app starts basically with this line of code, React DOM.render app, and then it's going to tell it what DOM node we want our React app to go in. Typically, it'll be get element by ID root, and this is the body, right?
That should be an ID in your HTML.
Oh, yeah, right. It's an ID in our HTML called root. So this is basically just the boilerplate React code that we use in every React app to get our app onto the page.
Think of the mother.
Yeah, remember how we talked about having components that include other components that include other components? So the app is like the mother component, like she said. That's the container component that holds your entire app. It's like the container for your app, right? And then other components go inside of here. So we're going to tell it to use app. When we put this word, capital APP, inside this tag, what is it telling it to do? Anyone would like to guess? Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, it opens and closes the file path for you, and then it goes.
Well, this tag here tells it to include this component, the app component. Now, where do we get this APP? It's because we're using it here, right? So we're naming it APP here, and we're giving it, as Jackie said, a file path in this same folder, the relative path to app.js, right? Everyone seeing how this works, guys? Sam, you paying attention? Okay, good. Okay, guys, so here's our app.js. Now, we replaced it. It used to be more complicated. Now, it's going to just be comprised of this hello div component. So we made a folder for our components. This is a good way to structure things. That way you have all your components nicely together, separated from everything else in your app. You'll keep all your components in a components folder. Right now, we just have one component that's called hello div. And it does nothing, right? So we're saying hello div does nothing. Then app.js. So let's see what happens when I restart this. Does this refresh automatically, or do I have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not putting your.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
You control the other. Unless you have one on the other side. No.
That's all I did. Okay. Okay, so let's run yarn here again. I'm going to run, what is it? Yarn start? Okay. Yeah, so it has to compile everything. There's a little bit of lag time when it first starts, but after this first initial start, everything will be pretty much instantaneous. And in fact, you won't even have to restart your server or do a lot of the junk that you have to do with Node, or even start the web page, refresh the web page. It does all of that for you. So let's see what happens here. Then the only other thing that it was asking us to do is to update our name in the hello world. Yeah, my computer just froze, it looks like. No.
Then we need to add import React on your
No, it should have everything. Yeah. On which one? Sorry, I didn't know it.
the one that you where the hello div. Yeah.
No. No, we don't need to import React here. React is already imported. We're requiring this into another file, which requires into another file. So we're requiring React in index.js. We only need it in this one file, and then this pulls in everything else. So everything gets pulled into here, and we only require React once in this one spot. What's that?
I ended up writing the import React simply because it was saying to reference the source folder from the previous activity, and that had the import React within the hello div JavaScript.
You're just supposed to copy the whole source folder. Not from the previous activity, it said from this activity folder.
No, I know. I'm saying like
You just reference these.
The
Yes.
instruction says to reference.
reference, not copy.
Wait, where does it say that?
Hey, you need to import the React library. Reference the previous hello React activity you can get stuck within.
Oh, like reference, like go back.
Yeah, go back and look at it as a guide to help you out. And then it says to copy the source, replace the source folder in your app with this unsolved source folder.
No, but on line 17, import the React libraries.
Yeah, we don't need to do that in every file. We just do it once in index.js. So let's see if this is done running yet. It looks like it is.
I did hit an issue when I was putting together the component files.
Okay.
Yarn thing basically says React must be in scope or something.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out individually. As I said, you guys are developers now. So let's figure out what it is they want us to do here. So this is just going to be null. We're going to want to make this what, like a div instead? Is that what they're asking for? H1 tag, and then hi, it does not need to be a string. Is it JSX?
No.
Okay, yeah, it is JS. It's not a JSX extension though?
Yeah, probably.
Usually I thought I used JSX extensions. So I can just type it like this?
Yeah.
I don't think so, guys.
I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Well, you're gonna want to do multi-line, so you want to add the parentheses after.
It's even multi-line in mine, and I have 0 quotes.
Yeah, you shouldn't even. That would just be Sublime.
Mm.
It's differently.
No, I think it's JSX gets a JSX extension. I'm pretty sure.
You don't have the Babel thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not going to work. Definitely needs quotes around it. And it shouldn't need to refresh, though. It should be automatic, right?
It might have to be fully compiled. It's done.
Doesn't compile successfully.
You can in the browser.
It doesn't look like it's even picking up the changes.
Are you in the correct?
My app, yeah.
Yeah, but you're returning a string, not a. It's not getting transformed.
Well, JSX should have a JSX extension, first of all. Shouldn't be just JS. This is plain JS, I think, not JSX.
You typed it in without the quotes and it shows.
Yeah. And the unlisted list. Yeah. Where we added the header.
It looks like this
Yep.
on yours?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it just showed up, right? You didn't have to refresh the page or anything?
Yeah, but go to the console.
But yeah, import React was, we had to import it there.
Oh,
that's
okay.
on the index.
Yeah.
Oh, in there too.
Yeah.
That's
You
weird.
have to import it everywhere.
No, you really shouldn't.
You should have.
Yeah, that's weird. They're doing it a weird way. Okay, guys.
Holy smokes.
You have to import React component. into each file.
Import React from React.
So it just says React, you have to import React every time.
Import React from React.
Component is first.
React, just like this.
Lowercase and
Lowercase and quotes. Okay.
Yeah, like on the other side.
Brent is.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
No, something after I.
Semicolon. Why do you need a semicolon there?
Semicolon at the end of that line.
There should be a semicolon after every line, no?
I mean, text you
I thought it would break the JSX.
No, it's not working for me. That's
Yeah, no, this isn't working, and no, that's not the problem.
parentheses.
Do multi-line, do multi-line.
It's weird, right?
So before the H1, do parentheses. Like encapsulate the H1 tags in a parentheses and then break it up.
Like this, put parentheses around it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so do a new line at the, so it's like the H1 on one line, the high on the other line, and the breaking, no, like actually enter, hit enter. Oh, here.
No, because I took it out.
It's like,
That's the way it should look on there.
yeah, because he's just using the JavaScript one.
Oh, okay.
Download the one for Apple JSX, and then it's fine. Yeah. But it doesn't affect the actual code, just the text editor.
Maybe that should work. Let's see. This, oh yeah, so then I guess this is what we need. Yeah, okay, so that's fine.
Yeah. I didn't even need parentheses.
Multi-line.
Yeah, React.
But it's not.
Yeah, this is just the JSX syntax. It shouldn't.
Did you save it?
Yeah, Yarn doesn't look like it's picking up the changes.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yarn. Maybe I have to run yarn listen or something, or yarn watch in order for it to pick up the changes.
Is it the fact that you have
Okay, leave it right there. So if it worked, it should automatically open up the page for you.
Yeah, I did that part before too. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there it is.
You just have to wait for the development server to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just taking a little while to start up the development server, guys, and then.
Oh, she's saying just to change the language in Sublime from JavaScript to JSX.
I don't think I have it in Sublime yet. I'll have to install it. Yeah, we got it to work, guys. Let's see if we have JSX installed. If we do, that should be good, but we don't already have it. So, okay, so we got it to work, guys. Did everybody get to this point yet? Anybody not at this point where they updated their thing? You're not there yet? Jose, what's going on with you? Okay, did you make it work exactly like this? In fact, we're going to wait till we do our next exercise because we're going to get another exercise to play with that stuff. So you guys will get another chance to try this out on the next exercise. We're going to keep, what's that? Okay, what does she want? Well, that's because I'm doing all this other stuff. Somebody else has to.
Also, there's supposed to be an unlisted list with 3 items in it. Did I get that?
Yes.
You got it?
Sorry.
Okay, well, that doesn't. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. We'll see more examples. We've got this. Break? What time is it? Okay, break. Break. We're going to take a 15-minute break today, guys, back at 8:23.
Yeah. I imported everything over. I sent it to you.
You can't have that two ending closing times.
It'll stop. No, it will. Yeah.
I inside the folder. So should I jump or should I install it?
Yeah, once you.
Okay. I do it.
I don't know if that'll work. But I'm just running back. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean my force close?
So I run inside this folder or?
There it is.
So I on a video and I was like, oh, there it is. And put it into.
Oh, okay.
The previous one.
So the, okay, this one.
Yeah.
This is number 3. That was the
Yeah.
okay, this one. You did work. Then put it.
Put it wherever you have the.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, we'll get through it. It's just, it's hard to keep everyone patient when there's like a million people in here. Okay, I'm gonna download the JSX bundle now.
So the way it had to
You ready to take care of it?
What, the bundle?
Because I just Googled it.
Oh, how do you do it?
I
mean, okay. You remember how to do it? I mean, isn't it?
Go to project. No, preferences.
Preferences.
Package control at the bottom. Install package.
Not even that.
Install Wait, does that work?
And then once it's loaded,
Oh, okay.
okay, and then type in Babel.
Babel or JSX?
There's Babel.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was always a sales.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Not even that, like, I read a lot about.
And then package Babel successfully installed. Then if we open up our
Okay,
app.js, that.
Wait, what happened?
And then we gotta go down to the bottom right hand corner and change the.
Let's see.
Yeah, so.
Let's
Yeah, that's super recommended.
To
Well, I think it will now. I think I just needed to restart it. So JavaScript Babel. Okay, that worked. We're just looking at installing the plugin for JSX, so it colors in the JS. Babel.
You want me to help you install?
Yeah. For anyone else who's interested too, this is the Babel plugin for Sublime Text, so it will give you the correct syntax highlighting for.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not today with a quiz.
Okay, you did. How did it go?
I guess not too good.
No? Well, what happened? At least this way you'll have feedback. This is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So what?
He was asking me about when he asked me about like the volume that I'm gonna play and how many slides do we have?
Uh-huh.
And without any
could get away with keeping it like that.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Yes, in the intersection you have all the street lights, but
I don't know. I might be wrong.
of course that's not the answer, but I don't really know.
Yeah, that's a weird question. So what else?
He was asking me about which was an address JavaScript that I make, And of course, I have a lot of mainly here the course on one was the project that I did with Lauren, other people. I read a lot of tasks with Spotify. But he was asking me about the service or ability to use or something kind of that. And I wasn't able to answer the service.
What kind of service?
I don't know. It was weird. Maybe I understand very bad. I explained him.
Your Spotify API?
Yeah, but he was asking me for it. He didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
But he didn't ask me too much about concepts.
Really? You just
Yeah.
asked questions.
Just the last one. The last one was like a Google. Did you see the movie? Google.
Oh, the one with what's his name? The
Two weird guys.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So
interesting.
it was a kind of it's a video in YouTube with a lot of Google questions, weird questions, and interviews for programmers. Wow, that's weird. Also in Launch Code.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about Launch Code?
I've seen a lot of
It's a
postings
company that you
from
can apply. They are offering like $50,000 per year for everyone. But I didn't go through the process because they were asking me for my social.
Oh.
It's a big company here in Miami.
Oh. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. But let me.
They have like tests,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the questions this was right information that they specify. So I didn't know how to face the question that Chris made. So maybe I wanted to hear the answer in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me ask him and get his feedback. So what was the question though? He said write a function that does what?
No, he doesn't. He just asked me the question like global because suppose that I don't have internet, I don't have anything. So most like maybe logic, or maybe like how can I solve some problems.
Yeah, I hate those kind of questions. I thought it was annoying that people.
Well, when I was applying for this bootcamp,
Uh-huh.
maybe it was you, maybe it was
What's up?
Oh, there we go.
My last paper, I had to do half an English assignment.
Oh, you need to do one day.
So they said, if you're trying to write multiple languages, how something in Spanish actually goes with all of them. It's good.
Yeah.
It was every window of the company.
Our other kids,
I just interviewed with them and
oh, nice.
yeah.
Now that I think about it, I think I had a recruiter contact me about that job too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he's coming.
That's what my decision.
Yeah.
Right. But if you, but
What do they do?
So like part of the CMS is still built. They like follow okay. I did think it was kind of weird that you need to import and react to every single one. Like,
Yeah, I don't think that makes sense. I think that they must be doing something else.
like in the middle of the video, and last time I heard that was from the because they're like,
I
you're
know
gonna
what
get
it probably is. Can you can you make
but they didn't.
can you make a component such that you can pass the React project as
Yeah, we can do it that way.
maybe that's why maybe that's what you need to do, not
Yeah, I've seen there are other libraries I've seen it done that way with like Express and stuff where they pass app between the modules so they don't have to re-import it. Okay. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you have to work with someone. He's like,
Yeah, but let's not change anything with the architecture just now. We've got a lot to get through and a lot to do, so let's just stay with it. Does somebody want to go get the other people from outside so we can get started?
We're ready to start.
that one? Well, yeah. So it'd be like,
everybody come inside.
Oh, that was classic.
Oh my god, that was so awesome.
I wonder what the other classes must think of us.
I don't know, but I guess they woke up now.
Well, that's good. Welcome back, Elliot.
What is that?
Yeah, what the hell? Melvin, you broke the other class.
So John,
Wouldn't it be so funny if they all come out?
Yeah. They all come running into our class.
Yeah, they come out. I was just traumatized.
What happened? What was that?
I met a pet snail and I loved him so much. And then I'm holding him and I'm like, oh, awesome. And I turn around and I step on another one.
Aww.
killed his wife.
Bad Madison.
So, for example,
Speaking of killing, I killed a lot of lions yesterday.
You guys should get together. You could have like escargots if you should. Dinner. I like it. Okay, everyone, we are going to get started. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to be moving right into Bootstrap because you do need CSS still with your React apps, right? React doesn't do CSS for you. It just does UI templating, but you still need to do the styling, the CSS. So it's very common for people to use Bootstrap with React. So we are going to be moving straight into number 4 with number 4. And pretty much every exercise we do after this, I want you guys to listen to this. This is super important. Nobody forget this, miss this, get lost, anything. For every other exercise we're going to be doing, as long as we're covering React, you guys are going to take that same step you just did. You're going to copy the source directory out of the unsolved examples and into your React app folder. The same way we just did in the last step. Everyone got that? So we're all going to go ahead and do that now with number 4. We're going to replace the source in our React app that we just created with the source directory in number 4 from the unsolved examples. So in order to do this for me,
Turn off the yarn. On yarn.
Is that exiting for you either? There it is.
Okay, everyone done with that? You guys need another minute? How long does it take to copy a folder? Should be pretty quick.
My yarn was shutting off.
Oh, you can open a new tab too. That is another option. Yeah, and in fact, you don't want to have to restart Yarn every time because it's going to take a long time. So it's the better option to do it this way. Okay, everyone. So let's take a look at what we just did here. So we have a bunch of components here. Okay, now it's opening the screen. So we have a very similar setup to the app the way we had it. The only thing that's basically changed is the components. And then the app.js, we're including our component tag hello bootstrap here, which is going to include the hello bootstrap component from components hello bootstrap because we're importing hello bootstrap from /component/hello bootstrap. So that tells us what? That it's going to pull in this component and give it to our app. Then the index.js just renders the app. Everyone see how that works? So we have components inside of components inside of components.
So we would have to pull our components on the app.js. And then that takes.
Yeah, so it starts with the index.js. Index.js is like the outside most Russian doll, if to use that analogy. Container, then app.js goes inside. That's like the next innermost Russian doll. We're including it here, and we're calling it here. Then with this, we're including hello bootstrap. So that's like the next innermost layer, and that's here. So this is what it looks like in the browser now. And then there's a hello div. So Bootstrap is not being included yet. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, you add Bootstrap later.
Okay, so we're just going over what happened here. Just this, what I just went over. Is there anything else to show them? Okay. And does everyone see how I can use the Babel bundle for TextMate? So that way when I do this, now it colors in my JSX code correctly. Everyone see that? Yeah.
I don't have all this.
Did you copy the source folder?
Yes, I have app.js, the components, the bootstrap.js, index.js, but I don't have
Oh, did you copy the solve folder?
Oh yeah, I think you got.
Yeah, I think you have the solve folder.
Yeah, I may have copied the solve source folder. No, I didn't.
Maybe this exercise is just like seeing how it looks like.
Let's see. There is no solved or unsolved. I just copied the source folder, whatever was in here.
Yeah, this might just be Yeah, that one's the demo, yeah.
Yeah, these are just the demo boilerplate code. Your code should have created all of this. So the files you don't have are like index.css. Okay, yeah, that's just, don't worry about that. You won't need that. We're going to replace logo.svg, the service worker. Yeah, we'll replace those. Don't worry about those. Okay, everyone, how are we doing with that? Everyone got it working? Is everyone at the right place? Okay, we're going to keep going with this. I need you guys to stay super focused. Work with me here, okay? I don't know. I think Create React created it for me.
No. We're gonna get into CSS now. I don't know how you got that.
Yeah, no, I think Create React created it for me. Yeah, this is the boilerplate code that I got when I did Create React. So maybe I have a different version of it than you guys. But it's very inconsequential. We're gonna get into making CSS now, so don't worry about why I got these CSS files. Is everyone with me so far? Did everyone manage to copy the source folder out of example number 4? Everyone good? Lauren, are you good with that? Did you copy the source directory out of example number 4?
It's number 5 though. Number 5 for you guys. Look at
Why is it number 5?
No. Look at number 5. You guys are doing number 5.
Oh, you guys didn't slack this one out, number 4 at all. Okay, so you guys are gonna go straight to number 5. From now on, the ones that don't have solved, put them in the unsolved folder and slack them out because they'll need those too.
Yeah, they have everything.
Oh, okay. So you guys do have everything. So what you're supposed to do, the instructions were copy the source directory from example number 4 to your working React app.
That's
okay.
For you.
No, that's for them too.
No, they have 5.
They should have number 4. You guys all have number 4 in your unsolved example.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I want you guys to do. This is an instructor example. Doesn't matter. I'm telling you guys to copy source directory from number 4 for now. So then we're all on the same page. Okay. Do you guys all have a directory called number 4 with a source directory inside it? Okay, so please copy that to your React app directory. Okay, so that's all we have to do. Then you guys should be able to see this in your browser, right? Okay, so we're good. We're going to move on. I just want to make sure that we're all together on the same page. Okay, so now you're going to copy from number 5. Same exact thing, but we're going to go move to number 5. I mean, guys, stay with me here. It's not that hard. You just do this. It's 1. Look how long this takes me. Oh. Copy pasta. Students, hello, Bootstrap. Okay, done. Everyone got that? Copied? Let me know when you guys are done. Good. Who hasn't finished copying it? Everyone's finished? Okay, awesome. So let's look at what we have next. What it's asking us to do here, and we may mob on this one, in fact, which is why I wanted you guys to all be at the right place, because if we mob, then we'll get to different places. So did everyone get that source code directory copied over? Yes? Okay. Okay. So in this activity, we will utilize Bootstrap CSS and render components utilizing Bootstrap classes. So this is just going to tell us how to use Bootstrap CSS classes with our HTML code. So this is basically the same things that we learned in like week 2, but we're just going to be doing it with React, but there's really no new concepts here. We're just going to be adding CSS classes to HTML. Everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. What are you guys working on? Okay. So who wants to drive? Anyone? Or you guys want to work on this one individually? Okay, so everyone, let's try to focus and work as a team here. I know this is a lot, and it can be kind of daunting at first, and that's all the more reason I want us to all work together. It really isn't that confusing once you wrap your heads around it. It just seems kind of daunting at first. And I know you guys are going to all want to go into your laptops and try to figure this stuff out. That's wrong. The right way is to be open mind and just let it all sink in. I'm telling you guys. Yes.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Exactly. Yes. Sam gets it. Okay. So what's the first thing that we're trying to do here? Let's go up to the very top of the file.
Hello, Bootstrap. In
Hello.
this activity, we will utilize Bootstrap CSS and render components utilizing Bootstrap classes. Paste application, okay, we did that part,
Yeah, we did that part already.
add a Bootstrap CDN to the header of your React application with index.html file inside deposit/index.html. Did you do that?
They don't have it in
No.
HTML.
Wait,
That should be in.
add a Bootstrap to the head of your React applications inside of public index.html. So yeah, copy that. We do have public index.html. It's not in this folder. I have my React project open in a different project window. It's the one called My App, right to the right of them. So then we're just going to go through index.html.
Go up.
There
There we go.
So the way this works, guys, so you're just going to add that in under the fave icon right there. That's fine. Just enter. Paste.
Ta-da.
Right. So scroll down a little bit. I want you guys to see something. This is the static HTML page that our React app starts with. Now you see how we have that div ID root? Does anybody remember what in our React application is using that div ID? Remember seeing that? The render function. So if we go,
Yep.
Okay, so if we go to index.js sim, yeah. So you see how it says render and then document.getElement by ID root. That's to tell it that our app starts inside that div with an ID of root that we just saw in our public static index.html.
So you
Everyone
can.
see how that part works?
So if you wanted, you could put React stuff not in the root. You can put it
can
wherever
have
you
like
want.
a whole web page and just have React in one little section of it. It's designed to work.
Cool. That's what they were talking about in that video. we were watching.
No, that is actually, well, that is one sort of escape hatch that they have, but they were talking about those instead of starting out with something as a JSX component, you could get it rendered as HTML in the server and just pull in an HTML fragment via an AJAX request, and then it will automatically convert that into a component for you. So you don't have to start out with JSX or with any kind of JavaScript to create the component. It can create the component just from static HTML that comes from the server as well.
Cool. All right.
Okay, guys, so let's keep focused, keep steady on what we're doing. Let's go back to the directions. Then we did the first thing it asked us to do. The first thing it asked us to do was just to copy a link to the CDN with Bootstrap, right? So we did that.
Okay, so now go on to the source. Yeah, source and components. And then create a brand new file named hellobootstrap.js.
We should already have that, actually, the Hello Bootstrap JS.
Yeah.
Because I copied it from my instructor file. So we have it, we're good.
There you go. Okay.
So let's keep going. Oh, and just change that to Babel. Yeah.
Ta-da. All right. Instructions.
Bottom right corner. If you have the package installed.
What? Okay. So
Okay, so let's go back to that component. So let's take a look at these CSS classes, because this is what they want us to learn about here. What are these CSS classes for?
Bootstrap.
They are for Bootstrap, right? So we learned all of this stuff a very long time ago, week 2. We learned about how we add classes to things to make them do things. Is there anyone here that doesn't remember learning about this, learning what a button class does, or what button primary, button large? We're all clear on this stuff? How Bootstrap works? Yeah? Good. Elliot, do you remember Bootstrap? Lucas, do you remember Bootstrap? Yeah.
I'm a little confused with the class name. Do we use that?
Okay, that is a good question. No, we use what in our HTML? We
Class.
use class, right? So why are we using class name instead? Anybody remember?
Class is reserved as a JavaScript.
Right, like we learned about in our Tuesday class. Class is a special thing in JavaScript. That means a class like a class-based language with class-based inheritance. Totally different from a CSS class. So we don't want to get confused between them, so we have to use class name instead. Good question.
So that's only when we use it in the
In the JSX, yeah. If we're with plain HTML, you use class. Okay, so what's the next thing that we're going to do? It's probably going to ask us to do all this stuff. We're already done with it. So what's the next thing? Set the default export of your file to be Hello Bootstrap component. So let's go down to the bottom of our file. We've done that already. Update source app.js so that it imports from the source components Hello Bootstrap. So let's do that. Go back to our project. Right, so we need to put in the
import Hello Bootstrap.
Right, so first comes the import. Should it be uppercase though? No, I guess not.
Yes. Okay, what's the export?
Yeah, the first letter, yeah. Looks like it should be. And then is the S capitalized or no?
No.
No. Okay. Import Hello Bootstrap from, remember, who remembers how to do this?
Quotations. That components Hello Bootstrap.
Everyone see what that's doing? That's a path in our local file system relative to where this file is. What makes it relative? What makes our path relative?
The dot.
The dot that it starts with, right? Otherwise, it would start from the root of our file system if it just started with a slash. So it's saying start here where this file is, then we're going to go into our components directory, then we're going to get the Hello Bootstrap file and include that in this file. Everyone see how that works?
There's no need to specify that it's a JS file?
No, the JS is implicit, same as with requirement.
Okay.
Okay, everyone see how this is working? What's the next thing that we need to change here?
The export?
No. We need to include the tag, right? So now we're saying const app equals a p tag that says render bootstrap components here. What do we need to change this to? So does anyone remember how to include bootstrap components inside other bootstrap components? We went over this, but that's okay if you guys don't remember. I'm going to tell you this one time. It's an HTML tag, and the HTML tag's name is the name of the component. So we just put Hello Bootstrap. No,
just the root.
That's the tag.
Oh,
like P is the
yeah,
tag.
yeah, I gotcha.
And then it's self-closing. So it just has a slash at the end, and it's self-closing. Does everyone see how that works? So this is how we include a component inside another component, which is pretty much everything with React. It's all just components inside other components. And this is how we do it with the component tag. Let's take a look at index.js. I think that has the component index.js.
That's the same thing that is.
That's index.html.
That is in the React down.render, right?
Yeah, so it's the exact same thing. So JSX converts your code to the React dom.render syntax before it does anything else with it. So all the components that we're making, we could actually use this React DOM syntax and use that to define every tag. It just gets very hard to have to use JavaScript methods for every tag. It's a lot easier to just write your HTML like it's plain HTML, which is why JSX comes in handy. You can write React apps without JSX, just using this React DOM.render. And then again, we're using the app tag that includes our app components. You guys see how that works? Okay, great. So this should be all we need to do. Let's see if it works. Let's look at the instructions again, actually. Let's see if it wants to do anything else. Hints. So let's read these hints, because they might give you guys some good meta information about how React works. So in order to return separate JSX elements from a function, all of the higher level elements need to have a single parent. So does this part make sense to you guys? So you can't have a component if it doesn't have one wrapper tag. You can't have a component that's just like two divs outside of each other and nothing wrapping them. They need to have one single wrapper tag. Everyone see how that works? Did you get that kind of component? One single wrapper tag?
In essence, it becomes like its own body tag.
Yeah, so you can't have two separate tags in one component unless they have one wrapper tag. Yeah,
Can you show the app.js code?
Okay, so this is just including Hello Bootstrap with the Hello Bootstrap. Okay, so let's go back to the hints and let's see what else we have in terms of hints, because this is all good stuff for you. Okay, Next hint, all JSX tags must have either an adjacent tag or else have a self-closing forward slash. So most of the examples we've seen just have the self-closing forward slash. What is the use case where you'd want to pass an actual value to that element node instead of passing in the properties with actual HTML attributes?
Oh, we do
Maybe it's just if it's supposed to have text.
If you want to extract a specific variable out of.
No, those are the
No, you can use that with attributes. You use the HTML attributes to pass in.
I don't know. We used it for like the little alerts they said, like for example, you type in the wrong password during the login, you get like a little banner that says incorrect password. So they put that text in between the tag, and then they would pass the properties of color for that banner.
Oh, so maybe it's like one default property. So sorry, I don't have the answer to that. For now, we're just going to be using this way with the self-closing tag, and then when we get into passing in properties, we're going to pass in properties with attributes, and then we'll see what we use the actual tag value. But for now, when you guys include components and other components, you're going to make it look just like this, a self-closing tag. Everyone remembers what a self-closing tag is. It's the tag with a slash at the end that doesn't need a closing tag because it is self-closing, right? So good. So let's go back to the hints. Let's get through the hints. We have a lot of stuff to get through here, guys. This is all new stuff to you, so there is going to be some cognitive dissonance. It's kind of hard, but we can get through it. So next thing, class name, as you pointed out, Camille. Class name must be used to describe an element's class property, since class is a reserved word in JavaScript. Did everyone get that part?
Yes.
Not clear? You understand that? Somebody explain it, Jackie.
So JavaScript has a set of keywords or rules, for less of a better word, and they have a specific syntax. Class is reserved strictly for JavaScript. So if you want to define an attribute within React, JSX, you have to define it in camel case, class name, or
it'll get confused with class, which is something totally different from JavaScript. Okay, one more hint. Remember to report the React library in any file where we're using JSX. That's what confused me. I guess we do need it in every file that uses JSX. So what that means is, can you go back to one file so we can show everybody what that means? Go back to our Bootstrap file. Bootstrap. Yeah, go to our Bootstrap JS. Hello, Bootstrap. Okay, so top. So every JSX file, JSX are the template files where you define your template. HTML, at the top of every one of these, you're going to have that first line of code, import React from React. So that works, so you just put that at the top of every one of your template JSX files. Okay, I think that's it for the hints. Let's go back to that README full stack. Full stack. Bonus, instead of having your Bootstrap code inside of a single component, we could create 3 separate components. I think let's just move on to the next exercise. Let's try to get through one more. Can we have another driver, please? Step up.
I mean,
I
nominate Russell. Wow.
Come on, somebody step up. Okay,
I'm putting somebody else on.
Okay, awesome, Jackie.
Come on.
Jackie.
You're gonna have to deal with my not knowing how to work on a PC.
It's not hard.
I mean, you made such
It's good training for you.
Can you open the
Public? Where's the public folder here?
Okay, so this is how it works. We have 2 projects open, Jackie. There's the full stack project. That's where we have the readmes and stuff that are going to tell us what to do. Then right next to it, down here, down there, that guy. Yeah, that's the actual project that we're working on. So we're going back and forth between
public,
these 2.
and you want the index.html?
Yeah. So here, let me show you what we're doing. We're gonna go move straight into this next exercise. And this is an instructor one. So, do you want to be the instructor and talk about JSX variables?
Yeah, I just need my notes. But I know what.
No, you can leave it
Are
for
these
now, and then we'll
instructors?
go to the next one.
So here, yeah. So here's a good example. So in here, it's gonna extract. Hi, my name is. What do we define name as?
Hi, my name is name.
So
well,
it's
we're
Ahmed.
passing it in. Yeah.
So my name it'll.
So then when we call it from index. So stay right where you are. I'm going to demo this. So we're passing an app,
Here,
an
do you wanna
app.js. No, that's okay. So we're passing in JSX variables, but then where are we naming this?
So right here, so const Ahmed.
Oh, okay.
And then it get passed
Oh, so we
into here.
haven't gotten to doing properties yet. We're just showing how to. Okay.
And then okay.
So this is the only thing we have to demo. So we just have one instructor thing to demo here for you guys. Very, very simple. If I could have your attention, please. We're just showing how we're going to include, Jackie, you can see.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're just showing how we can include variables within our JSX template code. That's all we're doing here, right? So we have 3 consts. We all remember what const does, same as variable, but you can't change it, right? And also it's block scope, those 2 things. So one of them is a string, 2 are numbers, and then we're just including them in our template same way as we do with handlebars and all the other stuff. It just goes between curly brackets that tells us put this variable in here in the middle of our HTML. Right? This should be not too new to you guys. We've done it with handlebars. We've done it with other stuff.
How would you add another component into that, for example?
How would we add it? Just the same way that we've seen. So we would just put like my component. If it's called my component, you just do it like that, self-closing tag, and you're done. If you have this defined as a component. Yeah, you would have to import it too. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll go on to your student dude now, number 7. So yeah, we're going to be reading the instructions from this. And then in the unsolved, I'm just going to copy over this source directory so you don't have to deal with this part. Okay, so I'm copying over this source directory from number 7. You get to see all my secret instructor
I
stuff.
won't look. I'll look the other way.
It really doesn't matter, Jackie.
Oh no, and yeah, Oscar Wilde's at the bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, go ahead, Jackie. Let's give it up for Jackie. So you know, just go back here. Yay, Jackie.
Let's see. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on.
This is what we're working on, but you're going to want to go back to the other one so we can look at the instructions. You've got this.
Oh.
Full. Just where's
Right,
it full?
right. Oh, whoa! Oh my God! Jesus.
Okay. So instructions. We're going to replace our React application source folder. We already did that. We're going to do that with pretty much every exercise, so you guys should get used to that. This activity uses Bootstrap. So wait, are we on the right one? Yeah. This activity uses Bootstrap, so make sure you have the CDN added to our public index.html. Yeah, we have that. Let's just go back and check it, Jackie. I know we have it, but let's just go back and check it so everybody can see. We're going to go to that thing. We're going to go to public index.html, go all the way to the top, and we can see that we have Bootstrap.
Yes.
Everyone see that? How we have the Bootstrap CDN? Okay, so we're good with that. Let's go back to our instructions. Now we're going to open source components JSX variables JS, and notice the values being requested inside your component. Your name, the number of letters in your name. What do you think about React? Render each inside the JSX curly braces. You will need to create JavaScript variables in order to accomplish this. Do you think we can do this based on the information we've just seen?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Okay, so let's go back. Do what they say. Go to source components, JSX variables. 3rd one down. Okay.
Oh.
So now it's asking us for all this stuff. We're going to have to replace where it says insert name here with the React way of inserting variables and stuff. We're going to have to declare the variables.
Jackie, can you take a second to do that whole thing again on the bottom right-hand corner?
Oops.
The other bottom right-hand corner.
That's why I'm surprised that they're not using the JSX extension, because then it would do that on Mac. Do you use JSX extension usually with JSX files?
Because we say this .jsx.
.jsx.
Oh,
right.
no, just .jsx.
Okay. Okay, so how are we going to do this, guys? I think you guys can do it. Madison, how are we
Ask Jackie.
Okay, tell me. So what's the first const we're gonna do? Const name. No.
Oh, sorry.
Const name. Close.
What do,
You know your name.
I don't know my name.
I don't know my name.
Put it into words.
Const name, next one is const number. That's the number of letters.
numbers? What do you want? That's good.
Very important argument.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, you can just put the number 7, or you can put name.length. Doesn't matter. But that's totally fine. So what's the next last piece of information? Our thoughts about React and how wonderful it is. So, yeah, that's fine. Though. Sometimes it's good to have long script. I'm glad Jackie is. Jackie is.
He took the words right out.
Forgot. So what do we use to encapsulate it? Curly brackets.
Oh, it doesn't auto. Okay. All right. There it goes. You want me to keep on going?
No, we gotta tell you.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the next one?
Delete all of the stuff within those parentheses, including the parentheses,
Am I in the line?
and curly bracket, open
No,
React,
it's not doing it.
box, camel case, close curly bracket. Very nicely done.
Okay, let's try it out. Let's go to our browser where it says React, the Chrome.
How do you save? Control S?
Yeah.
Control S and be aware that the bottom button is very
This one?
Okay, yeah, refresh.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to restart it. Sorry. So go to that thing. Yeah, Jackie, go to that. Hit up arrow like twice. Just hit up arrow twice or 3 times until it goes to. Just keep hitting up arrow. Okay, that.
Honest punch it.
Okay, this is gonna take a minute. Sorry, guys. Is that Martin?
Yeah. I figure it's a better choice than Joe.
This is.
It's alive!
Okay.
Very awesome.
I think we're Yay! All right. Okay. Awesome. Let's keep going. How do we feel now, guys? Are you guys a little more comfortable?
A little bit. Microscopically more.
Yeah, so React has a lot of ramp up. There's a lot of stuff you have to learn. You got to learn Yarn, you got to learn Babel, you got to learn Webpack, all this stuff. But really, it's pretty simple. What we're doing at the core of this is pretty simple, right? We're making templates, we're defining them, we're putting CSS on them, we're putting them all together into a web page. So it's a lot of extra tooling, a lot of extra kind of stuff that we have to learn. But fundamentally, we're doing the same thing we've always been doing, right? We're putting HTML into a web page. We're styling it with CSS and we're giving it functionality with JavaScript, right? So same basic principles, yeah.
Can you query custom component names, or do those not actually exist within the resulting HTML?
Query custom?
Like if you.
Oh, okay. So you mean like with jQuery, if you're using jQuery or something after and you're trying to find a component? No, you have to use the regular HTML structure because it's not designed to work with jQuery. It's designed to work with React. You should be making all your events and stuff with React. You shouldn't have to be going in and using jQuery on top of React. It handles all this stuff for you. Yeah. Yeah, you can. We could do it. Yeah, we could do it just like this. Name.length. And then you can see it updates itself. And then I think if I just do, oh no, it didn't save. Wait. Okay, and then if I just change this just to see, if I just change this to name 0, say. So anything basically that goes inside these curly brackets is JavaScript. So you can put any executable JavaScript in here and it will still run. So this should give me the first letter of Madison.
Going back to that tangent, is this part of the reason why some people argue against jQuery because of things like React that exist?
Is this why? Yes. So this is one reason why people argue against jQuery. Another reason is jQuery just gets really messy because there's so many different ways to do things and nobody really cares. They just go and do things the quickest, easiest way to get things done. It's very hard to maintain, and it's very hard for somebody to come in after a developer and figure out what it was they did and how they did it and why they made all their decisions. So a lot of times, even if you're coming in behind an advanced developer that's been writing stuff in jQuery, a lot of times they probably would have been doing things just the quick, easy way just to get things done, not really worrying about the developer that comes in behind them. So it's always a lot of angst when you come in and try to figure out what another developer was doing. You're always beating your head against the wall and saying, oh, why did they do the things this way? Oh, this is so stupid. Even if it's a good experienced developer that did it, because there's no like good way that makes sense every time. If you have a million different ways to skin a cat, you'll wind up with something different every time. React is very standardized. There's pretty much only one way to make a component and one way to do everything.
And it's 10 times cleaner.
Yeah, and it's much cleaner, much easier to update, much easier to go and figure out what you're looking for. Because with jQuery, somebody might make like a component, say it's a slideshow, and they'll call it like slideshow.js, and then they'll put all the stuff for the slideshow in slideshow.js. And then you need to go in and you just need to update the links so that they open in a new window or something. So you'd have to go in and look through mountains of jQuery code to see where they're actually putting in the link for each slide, where you click on it, where it opens the link, and then change it to open in a new window. With React, it would be a lot easier because you have components inside components. Everything is named based on a convention. So it'd be really, really easy to find the thing you're looking for and just change that one thing. Also, the way they do the functionality is standardized. So you will add like functionality like on click events or have them do things in a standardized way. So for that reason, it's a lot easier to maintain. It's a lot easier to manage bigger teams with more developers working on a single project because there are less ways to do any one thing. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? Okay, awesome. I don't know why this thing is not updating though. You guys know? If I do name 0, that should get me capital M, right? Oh yeah, yarn is stuck again. Huh. Does it not do the auto update?
It should, but when we were trying to do the first example, it wasn't doing it. We restarted.
Maybe it's just running out of memory. I don't know. Okay, how are we doing on time? Let's see. Okay, so we only have a few more little things to do, and then we will have gotten through all our lessons actually a little bit early, so you guys did really well. So the next thing we have to do, is everybody clear on how we did the JSX variables? Any questions on that, what we just did? Did it pretty much make sense to everyone? Yeah? Okay, question, you good? Okay. Wait, what?
We were doing last class with the ES6, but this time we're doing.
Yeah, it's exactly like what we were doing with the template literals and the string interpolation. But this time with JSX, it's also a lot like what you guys were doing with handlebars.
But just remember, ES6, you need the $sign.
Yeah, with ES6, you do need the $sign. That's a good point. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is CSS demo. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this source thing. Okay, so let's see what they're giving us to work with here. Now that I copied this source directory.
Before you leave that example,
Yeah, we're okay. You want to go back to the last one? Yeah, sure. So we were back here. Solved.
Let's say I want to use that JSX variable component one more time in the same page. Can I use that? Like duplicating things?
So yeah, so let's say we want to put someone's name twice. Yeah.
Again in the web page.
Yeah, so you want to put the same component twice. Yeah, you can do that, and you can put the same component twice, but with different variables, which is what we're using properties for. So if you wanted to say hello to you, Nelson, then hello to Melvin, you could have one hello component that would say hello, Nelson, because you just pass in these 3 pieces of information, and then you could use them in different ways. So you could have one hello component to say hello to you, Nelson, and one to say hello to Melvin, etc. Okay, so let us keep moving. So this one, we're supposed to be learning about CSS and how CSS works. So we have hello div, JSX variables.
And presumably this is similar, basically the same process with any other
React component.
I was going to say like things similar to Bootstrap, like Materialize.
Yeah, you could absolutely use Materialize with this same way as you're using Bootstrap. You can use your own CSS like this too, and that's what we're going to cover now. So we have this const styles. This is just a bunch of CSS styles. JSX knows how to format JSX styles too, or I mean CSS styles too, so that way you don't need to wrap them in quotes or anything like that. It already just knows this is CSS. It knows what to do with it. So then we can tell it what styles we want to put. We can put styles.panel. Actually, no, these are plain old JavaScript objects. It doesn't know this is CSS, sorry. I think, is this CSS or are these Java? These are just JavaScript objects, right?
That's how you do inline styling with React.
Yeah.
Inline styling with React, but this is just a JavaScript object, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Because it looks a lot like CSS, but it's actually a JavaScript object. And then anything that's not a number, you have to put as a string. Whereas in regular CSS, you wouldn't necessarily have to put this white in quotes, although you can. Here you do have to put it in quotes. Other than that.
And you can't use any dashes. That's not valid.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in regular CSS, this would be min-height with a lowercase. Here you make everything camel cased. Everyone see how that works? Yeah. Okay. So, and then all we do to include it is we just include styles.panel. Styles is an object. Panel is a property of that object. So we use anything between the curly brackets as just regular JavaScript. So we're just getting the panel property of the styles object, which is another object. And then it makes this the inline CSS. Yeah, Yamil.
Would it work the same way if you like get rid of like styles and import it from the CSS?
No, if you wanted to do it that way, you would just have to give it a class. Or you would use the class name attribute, and then you would just call it like my class, and then you would put that in your style sheet file. Class name, yeah, sorry, I don't know. Yeah, so you do class name, my class, and then as long as you have this my class defined in your CSS, it still works because it's still going to be plain HTML. The browser doesn't care that it's using React, right? It just sees, okay, I have HTML. The HTML tag has a class, so I'm going to go try to find something in the CSS that matches that class and then add those styles to it. So when it's thinking about it, it's just thinking, how do I render a basic web page, right? It doesn't care that it has React in it. You guys all see how that works? So the way your React app is going to pull in CSS is exactly the same as it was on week 2 when we first learned about CSS. You have a class attached to an attribute. The browser sees that. It goes and pulls in the styles and attaches it to that attribute. Exactly the same as it always works. So nothing really new in terms of how CSS is working with React, fundamentally.
So this way is like having an inline style tag.
Yeah, so doing it this way allows you to have an inline style tag.
This overrides everything that Bootstrap or whatever has.
Correct. Yeah. On week 2, we learned about this. There are 3 ways to include CSS. You can use a CSS class or ID. That's one way. You can use an inline style. That's another way. Or you can use an embedded style where you have the style embedded in your file, in your HTML file, as opposed to being in a separate CSS file. So you can still use all three of those ways. Nothing changed here. React is still giving us a basic HTML file, which gets to the browser. The browser treats it just exactly like any other HTML file that it's ever seen. So there's nothing really new in terms of how the HTML and CSS is working in the browser. What we're learning about here is React gives us this way to put inline styles, so that way we don't have to add the styles in our CSS. We can have them as part of our component too. You can do it both ways. They just give you this mechanism, so we're learning about it here. That is pretty much all there is to it. Again, we can also add CSS in the index.css file. So as I wanted to, as you were saying, Emil, I could do like dot my class. Classes start with dot, so I would do dot my class and then just put, you know, color red or something. And then if I just go and which component was I on? Navbar? Yeah, so then I could just put class name my class, and now the text here will be red. Yeah, so we don't even have to do it this way. In fact, it might be better in a lot of cases to use your CSS. What do you think, Jonathan? What is the advantage to doing it this way as an inline style instead of putting it in your style sheet file? Yeah, it's just showing you guys how this stuff works. If you want to put your CSS in your style sheet and just give it a class, same as you've always been doing, that's totally fine.
No, the thing with this is that if you're importing a component, you're getting everything.
Yeah, so that is the reason people want to do it that way. So that way you have everything in one single place. And that is beneficial if you have a team with multiple developers on it. Because that way, if I'm a developer and they say, okay, can you make the text in this thing red? I'll know to come right to here and I'll say, okay, here's all my CSS and I can just change it right here. I don't have to go looking through all the CSS files to find that class, and then I won't be sure if it changes anything else. Here I have it right here. So if you are going to work on a team with multiple developers where you want everything really nicely organized so it makes it easy for people to find stuff, then yeah, maybe this is a good way to do it.
But also maybe boils down to just personal.
It definitely boils down to personal preference. Absolutely. Yeah, Yamil.
I have a question for the header JS up there.
Uh-huh.
I saw they were importing it in here specific just for the header. Is it bad to do it that way because it's creating more CSS files? So is it going to take longer for the web?
No, it's not, because we have Webpack that's going to take everything and put it all together into one file. So it's good to put things in separate files because it helps you organize them. And then Webpack will fix all of that stuff so it gets all put into one file and compressed and everything. Good question.
I was going to say an example of some escaping happening happens in here too on line 6. So it doesn't matter.
No, this is not escaping. This is just plain JSX syntax. So when I change this to Babel, you'll see everything should turn the right way. So usually usually a backslash actually is to escape stuff, but it sees the slash and it thinks there's something weird, so it colors it in a weird way. But it is correct JSX. We just need the JSX highlighting on it. Any other questions? None? Okay, we have one more exercise to do, and then we're done. We can just take any questions, wrap up, all that good stuff. People at home, how are you guys doing?
He's sounding you, Paul.
People at home, are you still there?
Are you awake right now?
Google Hangouts is on.
Melvin's typing.
Sorry.
We have 3 viewers still. Okay, do you have any questions, Mappy? Dan's doing well. Okay, Mappy's good. Okay, let's move on. We have one more exercise to do. Okay, so now we are going to be learning about properties. So this one is supposed to be like an exercise that we do. How do you guys feel about it? You want me to just demo it for you guys and everybody pay really close attention? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to copy the source from the solved version then.
I remember.
Okay, I'm gonna start yarn early this time. Okay, so let's take a look at what fun stuff they did here for us this time. Flexon. Jonathan, do you know which one is stuff with the props? 1, 2.
Did we do the CSS property?
No, that was the one I was trying to do now.
That's number 9.
Yeah, I think so. Wait, let me check.
Did you do number 8?
Yeah, that was the CSS.
Okay, then yeah, number 9 is the last one for 8.
For today, yeah. So,
That's those students.
yeah, I know. We're just going to demo it as a group. So, styles.header style. Oh, yeah. So, this is just you guys practicing what we just learned, I guess. Navbar style. Yeah, so nothing new to show you guys here. This is you guys practicing. We have 10 more minutes. What do you guys want to do? You want to practice?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to drive, Pedro?
No.
Okay. Who does want to drive? Have you driven yet, Jose?
Earlier.
Early in the class? Okay.
Week 1.
Who else can I drag up here? Gretel. Oh, come on. Why? Come on. You need to get over your shyness.
He doesn't have a driver's license.
Yes, she does.
TA.
No, we can't have a TA. No, this is for the students. No. Yeah, he looks. Okay, you drive, Jackie. Get up here. Let me make sure I have all the right files up here for you, though. Oh, yeah, the every single file, THAMS, every single file thing. So now we're going to change every single, open all current extensions as Babel JavaScript. Now all of them will open this way. Although it will make them slightly slower to open. Now what I don't understand though, oh no, my components directory is the same. App test, navbar. Okay, so
It should recognize.
yeah, it does. It does. So this is not even the problem. I'm just gonna copy myself back here so that way you guys can install it. Navbar. So what it wants you guys to do, just so you can see. Is do something like styles and then just add some styles. You guys see how this is working? So you're going to help Jackie. So I'm just going to add some styles, some CSS, and that's going to be it, right? Yay. Okay, somebody tell her how to do it. Use the previous example as a demo. You can just read to her, tell her what to do. All right. First, we're going to
yeah, otherwise they're pretty constant style.
Styles.
Equals an object under
you don't have to do that.
I thought that was the point.
Let's look in navbar.css.
Navbar CSS?
Yeah, how are they using it? They didn't show us that in the last example. Go to, okay. Go up. Import styles from Navbar.css. I don't understand what, Jonathan, do you see what we're doing? Why are they importing styles from Navbar.css?
Because that's what they're.
Wait, go back.
That's their CSS files.
Okay.
Yeah, we're importing and not creating.
Yeah,
right, that's the CSS they're importing, and then they're overriding the constant styles. So they're doing both external and inline.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where are we putting in that Navbar CSS inline? Can you show that?
With
Yeah. Oh.
Why do we need to import it if we're overriding it? Yeah, it doesn't. We would do the same. The result would be the same. If we didn't have that.
Sure. Unless there's extra, is there a lot of classes and stuff?
Here's the styles.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Okay, let's just see what they have here. I don't know what we're doing with that CSS file.
Sorry.
I don't know what they have.
I thought it was made.
Okay, we have 1 minute. Can we do it? Okay, just make something red, Jackie. Make something red.
Background.
Color red. Background, colon, red, in quotes. It needs quotes.
Oh, it needs quote.
Okay, no, it's not CSS, it's JavaScript.
Comma, enter.
Color. Okay, font size 12 pixels.
And it's camel case.
Font dash. Yeah.
No, that.
Capital S. 12 pixels. How do we add it? It does. Wrap it in quotes.
Do it now.
Pass the dash.
Sorry, I was just. We done?
Yeah, okay, we're done for the day. Good job, Jackie. Okay, guys. Hey, it worked. I hope you guys are feeling a little bit better about React. Tiny bit, and you'll get to practice it more, and it's not the end of the world if you don't learn it. You guys have all made really, really excellent progress so far. You're all looking very employable to me. We're getting what we came for. Good job. Yeah.
There a folder supposed to be able to get live pertaining to this week or homework?
Folder, I'm good. They do.